Thanks for coming. My name is Mario. I work as a product lead and the head of payment products in Vipps Mobile Pay. I'm going to talk a little bit about the journey we had in product in Vipps and now the merged company Vipps Mobile Pay. And we're going to go into a little bit of questions and with interactions with you and the pros and cons of different setups and different ways of working. First, I'm going to go through a little bit of background. So the journey of product in Vipps. First, when I joined Vipps in 2019, we had a pretty straightforward product organization. We had a chief product officer, and all the product managers and the designers were reporting directly to the CPO. So that was good. It wasn't such a big organization, so that worked pretty well. Of course, when we grew as a company, we needed to scale this setup, and after a couple of years, we had product areas with the area product managers with PMs reporting in there. In this setup, we also had what I called a product quad. We had a kind of a leadership team with the area product managers, and architecture, engineering responsible, and the designer. I think that was a really good setup to lead the product areas. Then, 2022, Norway, Denmark, and Finland creates a group. So that's the merger between Vipps and MobilePay, and then suddenly things become a little bit more complicated. Of course, a much bigger organization and a very different way of looking at product. So now, we have this. We have no chief product officer, we have no head of product development, no one person that has responsibility for product in the organization any longer. I'm reporting into a chief commercial officer as a product lead. So we have 3 of those, and we have tech and platform. So that is a completely different organization. We have 7 product leads in the different areas here. So of course, it's a much larger organization, but of course, very, very different from the one we used to have in Vipps. Of course, it's not clicking. So we have a technical issue here. Yeah. So what's bad about this latest setup that I showed you guys? Well, of course, the product community is kind of struggling in this setup because there's no one person to have responsibility for that. But there are, of course, some benefits of a setup like that. I would say that it's extremely autonomous because we have business units with a high degree of autonomy. But now let's hear from you guys. What's your experience here? Just waiting to get the poll questions up here. Yeah. Switch to the polling. Yeah. So the first question is going to be about how your organizations are structured in terms of product development and design. And for example, do you have something that's along the line of the organization we used to have in Vipps, or do you have something else? And I would love to get everything up here so we can start looking into the answers here. But of course, all the structures have pros and cons. Now we can see it in front there. Yes. Yes, of course. There you go. Okay. First of all, I would like someone that answered blue or yellow to give a little bit about insights of what's the pros and cons of this kind of setup. Anyone? Yellow or blue? Yellow or blue? Anyone? No, okay. Does anyone that answered green have something to say? we have multiple product leads reporting to business unit leaders. That's the setup we have in Vipps Mobile Pay. Does anyone want to comment on how that's working? Come on. I know it's past lunch and everyone's a little bit tired and digesting a little bit, but come on, speak up. Let's hear about it. Yes, there, okay. You have someone there? No?
Just because no one else is speaking up.
Okay. So does anyone that answered pink, no formal structure, does anyone want to explain? Yeah, okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't see you.
Oh, I'm on the green, but...
You're in the green. Perfect, sorry. I'm blinded by the light.
My name is Elaine and I work at a fintech called Dext.
Mm-hmm.
We don't actually have this structure, but what we have is product teams that report within product, but we have business teams, and the product team and the business team is not linked.
Mm.
So I can see like a lot of value in this like slightly more complicated structure where you would link like business teams to product teams.
Yeah, so you feel that you're closer to business basically because of that setup.
Sure.
Yeah. Mm. So what do you think are the biggest disadvantages of that kind of setup?
Well, the business team is coming up with ideas, they're speaking to customers and they're coming up with ideas, and they feel blocked by the product team a lot of the time. But the product team, they're also speaking to customers and coming up with their own ideas, and there's a bit of a misalignment between the business objectives and the product objectives.
Yeah, good.
And it causes friction.
Mm. So do you have any thoughts about how that could be sorted out?
Well, I think there needs to be, like the product team, they need to continue to report into product directors, but I think there's like maybe a hybrid structure where the business teams and the product teams could be more closely aligned, or maybe product teams report to product in terms of like craft and like the producty bit of what they do. But then the teams could be more aligned and maybe even report into the business managers for like customer centricity and planning roadmaps together.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. Actually, we tried that in Vipps. We have something called business teams, where we have truly cross-functional teams, in addition to the product teams, where we meet weekly or bi-weekly with the commercial teams, with marketing, to go through, to work a little bit how you suggest. I think that's an excellent idea, and I think that our problem is often that product is perceived as a wall of no, and that doesn't help the craft in the organization. So did anyone answer pink here want to say something about that? And I struggle a little bit seeing, so please raise the hand very high. All right. Let's go to the next question then. Okay, the clicker's now not working. Yeah, there we go. Yes, here we go. Autonomous empowerment versus not. So let's hear it. How are the team structures and what's their scope of responsibility? Do you have autonomous product teams that owns both the product strategy and prioritization? Do you have empowered product teams that owns product and prioritizes, but they do not own the strategy? Delivery teams that only owns part of the product, but the work is decided outside? Or do you have project teams? Yes. All right. Anyone want to share what it means to be an autonomous product team for them? So what does it mean in your context? How much degree of freedom do you actually have? Anyone that answered blue want to share anything? Yes, there we have.
Yes, so technically the organization I work in has autonomous product teams, but it kind of goes to the degree that we can work autonomously unless there's something that management thinks is more important than what we think is important. So it's like we can build a strategy, we can do our own prioritization, and then we propose it to management. But then at some point there might be some new, I don't know, the CEO got some crazy cool idea, or there's something from our parent group that came down that now we have to do, and that's kind of like the limitation of that. So if there's nothing else, it's all fine and we can prioritize it ourselves, but the reality is that most of the time there is, of course, something else as well. So it's like this difference between on paper we work in autonomous product teams, but in practice we have autonomy until someone in leadership doesn't like it anymore, or has a different idea of what's the strategy, let's say.
Yeah, excellent. I can really relate exactly to what you're saying. So, but you could say it is the leadership teams and the owners' privilege to set the direction of the company. But I think this is a quite common situation. Empowered product teams. Does anyone want to say a little bit about that? And what's the limit of your degree of freedom? What can you do and what can you not do? Anyone? So, no one. Anyone working as part of a delivery team or a project team want to say a little bit about how they perceive their everyday and how they perceive the work and how it's working? Yes, here in the front.
Hi, hello. I've been working in the same company for the last 4 years. I've been in 3 different projects. They are all delivery based. We do have an idea that comes from the CEOs and the business teams who actually talk to the customers, and they come up with the idea. They have like some sort of sketch of what they need, and then we are responsible for actually writing the tasks for that specific delivery, and then we work on small MVP we deliver, and then we work on top of that. We don't have much autonomy of changing the scope of it, but it works in the terms that we have like small parts of the delivery that are already idealized by someone else, by someone from above, and then that person will validate as we move with the deliveries, and we end up delivering some sort of MVP that can be used, and then at some point, if the final user is happy, then it becomes a bigger project, and then we write bigger tasks on top of that and end up delivering a product at the end. So there is no autonomy about pretty much anything, but the good thing is we deliver a lot of things, and then we actually see those things being used in a short period of time, and we actually see value being delivered, which is a good thing. I don't see as not having autonomy being a bad thing in that sense.
That's a good thing. So what's the size of this organization?
It's huge.
It's huge, yeah. So you're seeing a lot of value created. So there's of course a pros and cons with everything here, and I guess that alignment is not a big issue in this setup, because the leadership team that they are deciding what to build, they've already decided how to do priorities.
Yeah. They actually have a very, very specific idea, and we just work on trying to deliver as close as possible on what they are requesting.
All right, and it was really good, thank you. Anyone else have a comment on this? Awkward silence. All right, yeah, here in the front. Yes, thank you so much.
So I guess I'm more in the orange part. So we are getting some ideas from business or leadership, and we try to implement that stuff, but we can also talk with business side and customers to find out what the requirements are. And I would be interested because in the way you were describing how you're implementing and delivering the stuff, so in my experience, it often happens that we are getting described what we need to do, and then we try to implement it and get more details and more requirements, and then we are not actually sure what to do exactly, and then we have to talk with the customers to find out what is really wanted, because leadership can have some vision, but what the customer really wants, it's really difficult. So it would be interesting, does it really happen so often that you get real good requirements, you implement them and the customers are happy, or you are creating the MVPs and then you iterate a lot and then it works out? So that would be interesting for me, because I've got the feeling that is the thing why something like the autonomous and the empowered product teams are getting a lot of positive vibes because of such situations, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you want to answer, of course.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is that you deliver the missions or some initiatives from the management team to deliver on, but then you have to work with discovery to actually figure out what to build. Yes.
Yeah, in my case, we do work in the beginning with small MVPs, and then the person who came up with the idea, who actually was in contact with the customer, validates that for us. Then we have a demo to the customer, which I do not participate. But then I get feedback from that, and then we move on with new tasks on top of that MVP until it's like a solid project that the users say, okay, that's good for me, I would work with that for the start. And then on top of that, we have a new project, a solid big one, that will actually deliver the value for the customer.
All right, good. Thank you for the contributions. So let's go to the next polling question, see if my click is working. Yes, it's working. So, how do the teams handle short-term goals versus long-term strategic alignment? Do you have a company rhythm with alignment periods between? Do you have quarterly OKRs, a centralized plan roadmap, or ad hoc adjustments? All right, it's pretty even out here, so that's good. Good to see. Does anyone who answered blue have any comment or want to explain how it's working? Any blue people? No? So blue, that's the kind of setup we have now in Vipps MobilePay. We have a two-week alignment period where we decide what's going into a 6-week focus period. And in that 2-week alignment period, that's where we align across the different teams and the dependencies that we are doing the right things according to the company priorities, and also the kind of the commercial or business unit priorities. And if we need to access shared resources, for example, a platform team, that's handled in this 2-week alignment period. And then when we go into focus, 6 weeks focus, we try to not disturb the teams too much and not have any big changes in priorities. And I was a little bit against that setup when we started it, because I felt a little bit like waterfally. But now I'm a big fan, because it is good to work in a shared company rhythm when you're becoming a bigger company, so you can clear out priorities across. Anyone else want to share anything how they're working? About ad hoc adjustments continuously. Did anyone answer that? Want to explain how that's working? And if it's working?
Hey, so we're probably a bit of a mix between green and pink. We kind of have a centralized plan and strategy and theme for the year and for the next few years. But because we're a fairly small team, only about 5 or so developers, we tend to work kind of project to project. So we'll kind of pick the things that we're working on, and as we come towards the end and are about to implement those things, we'll then sort of reassess what the next thing is going to be. Obviously still with the central plan in mind. Obviously that works at kind of our scale of team, because we don't have to manage too much of the pipeline. We can be flexible, which is great. But it'd be great to get your opinion on, well, how can you scale that as we start to look at adding additional teams and growing the team, and we need to have that bigger, track down the line of what's coming. How do you kind of make that adjustment? That'd be good to know.
Yes. So that's the kind of setup we used to have in Vipps in 2019. And it worked pretty well. And we had a kind of a shared project setup in Jira, where all of the bigger initiatives were. But we quickly came into big issues with prioritizing shared resources. For example, we have a payments team, a payment platform. And it was constant struggle of getting priority from the payment team. And that's why it kind of made a little bit sense to have a rhythm, because then at least the payments teams, they can have some quiet and space to work on what's been decided. And when we are in a 2-week of alignment period, then we can fight and we can discuss and go back and forth and escalate and figure out what's more important. But of course, it's good to have focus time. But of course, in a smaller organization, being set to rhythm gives you a little bit of less agility. So I would say that stick with what you have as long as it works. And as long as you can go in the correct direction, it seems like you have a pretty good setup. But maybe when scaling, you can consider something else. Anyone else want to share anything about how they're working here? Did you have a hand? Yeah?
Hi. I actually, we're somewhere between yellow and green, but I had a follow-up question for you on the blue that you're working in, because to me, part of it sounds idyllic, and I'm wondering what the cons of that process are, because I can definitely feel the cons of being in yellow and green, so I'm just wondering if there are any, or if I should be running back to the company and talking about blue. And also how it works in the 2-week alignment period, because 2 weeks for alignment on one hand sounds very short and also sounds very long. So I'm just wondering what the practicalities of that period are.
Yeah, so let's start with some of the disadvantages. For example, the company, the rhythm, we call it flex focus. It's really well anchored in product and tech and design, but not necessarily in the rest of the organization. But we need the entire organization to go in to follow that rhythm. So for example, when we want to tie in business reviews with the rhythm. So we're struggling a little bit with that, because a lot of the time, finance and the other departments are a little bit detached. They don't see the point of this at the same time. We are getting there. So now we are lining up the business reviews with the rhythm. So that could be a challenge, but it is getting better. And as I said earlier, 6 week and 2 and 6 week, maybe not that agile if you have teams that work on really short cycles, testing out stuff, and they don't really want to plan. They just want to create as much value for the company as possible. So maybe not the most agile setup, but it's kind of a compromise between agility and alignment, I would say. But the 2-week alignment period is a bit chaotic, to be honest. And so that's the time where the PMs really need to be turned on, and they need to talk to everyone, clarify, escalate, and agree on stuff. So it's a little bit chaotic, but it works pretty well. And we have someone facilitating the flex period. So we have someone kicking us in the chin, telling us now we have to ask all the teams what they're doing, write up the high-level stories, have everything ready, and then we are forced into meetings to present it to everyone. So everyone in the organization or all the product leads know what the others are doing, and they say maybe, okay, but I thought you were supposed to help us out on this thing, and then no, sorry, we got another priority, and then you can clarify that, because then you can change and do something else. When you go into the focus period, because maybe you don't get the support from the payments team, so you can delay that task to the next focus period. So it is working pretty well. Yes, okay. I think we're about out of time. Okay, we have 10 more minutes. I think I have a bonus question here as well that I want to do. How important is strategic alignment of product development for your organization? Is it absolutely crucial? Without good alignment, we build shit products. We strive for it, but it's not crucial. It's only important for company-wide projects, or we prefer autonomy over alignment. Yeah, so for a lot of people here, alignment seems to be very crucial. we have had a lot of discussions in our company about company alignment, vision, having a company strategy, and also product strategy. And it turned out that we have a CEO he likes a very, very, very thin layer of company strategy. So he's almost like a no strategy, which is quite interesting. He wants to keep it open to take opportunities. And this is really difficult, especially for the design team. They want to be like a visionary. They want to see what's happening in the future. But it has some advantages, because that means that you can take initiative to things, and as long as you can prove that it will create value for your company, you can do it. So I think we need to kind of look at, okay, what's the advantage of the setup we have? But of course, there are some challenges. All right, anyone want to comment, Blue? Why is it so crucial with good alignment? Anyone want to comment on that? No one? No hands? Why is alignment so important? Yes, okay, there you go.
I think as companies grow and you have more pillars in your product team, so we have maybe 10 different tribes across 3 different value streams. And I think we're not quite a big company, but we're also like in that transition from a really small company. And so if you don't have strategic alignment, it's very difficult for the teams to kind of communicate with each other week to week or sprint to sprint what work they're doing. So that strategic alignment makes sure that we're all kind of rowing in the same direction.
So how do you do that in your organization?
We have a strategy, and I think the product team input into that maybe not as much as they would like. So kind of things go up, and then the strategy comes back down to us. And we have like quarterly road mapping sessions, so each team takes ideas from different parts of the business, each product team that is, each cross-functional tribe, and that's kind of, those ideas are lined up against the strategy, the overarching strategy. And yeah, we kind of, I guess, bet on which things we think are going to bring us most value and align to the strategy, and that's how the decisions get made.
Good, excellent. So how is the strategy formalized? Is it a set of missions or a set of more positions? So how is it?
Again, it kind of cascades. So we have like a customer-facing statement, and that's like time for business. And then that flows down into a more detailed description, mission, values. That's it.
Yes, but it's pretty thin, but so there's really a high degree of interpretations within that space, I would assume then.
Yeah, we went through a phase of having like evolution of that strategy, and we've kind of maybe 18 months ago that was redeveloped so that the strategy should stay the same. You know, maybe every 2, 3, 5 years it would change, but it's something that's like broad enough that it can stay the same, but maybe specific enough that it kind of directs us to be driving value for customers continuously.
Excellent, thank you so much. Any other comments? I think we are approaching the end here. Yes, thank you so much.
Hi, yeah. So our company is somewhere between blue and yellow, and just why it's quite crucial is I joined the company when it was 3 years old, and the strategy was really decided on the fly. Everybody just kind of rode in, and we had a very clear company vision, so everybody just really worked autonomously towards that vision. But then, as I'm there now 11 years, and the company's 11, I'm there 7 years, and as my team grows, I just get so many questions about the strategy and the direction. And without the strategy, we use a balanced scorecard framework. Without that, it would be very difficult to communicate with everybody the direction that we're going. So that's why it's so crucial.
So why is it so important to be able to communicate that?
Just because when there's ambiguity or a lack of knowledge on the direction, people are kind of like a little bit like headless chickens. They're not really sure where we're going. They're not really sure what to do. They don't really know how to prioritize and focus their time. And you want them to be able to work autonomously, and they just can't if they don't have that direction.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent remark. All right, I think we're all about out of time. 4 more minutes. We have time for one more remark if anyone wants to share anything. If not, I can try to sum up a little bit. It was really good to see all the different setups that the people have here. We had a good spread of different organizational setups with centralized with the CPO or head of product, and we had also some examples of product organizations reporting into business units, and also good spread on the autonomous, empowered and project teams. So that's also good to see. And this, as we've come to learn today, is that everything has a pro and a con. So even though you may not be organized according to the product literature or whatever, there are, of course, a lot of advantages to be found in that. So I think I will just end there, and thank you everyone for listening.